Welcome. The Pueblo Star-Journal presents Soul Fresh, Soul Clean podcast. Soul Fresh, Soul Clean is a production of the Voices of Pueblo podcast. This special episode titled Aspen Acres Fire and Recovery was produced and narrated by Jocelyn Martinez and Gregory Howell.
Welcome to the Voices of Pueblo podcast. My name is Gregory Howell with the Pueblo Star-Journal, and I'm really excited to be in the studio here in Pueblo, Colorado with Jocelyn Martinez. We're recording our latest episode of Soul Fresh, Soul Clean. And Jocelyn, just before we get started, why don't you give it a shout out to all of our listeners?
Hello, everyone. We're so happy that you're here with us.
And this is a special edition. And when Jocelyn reached out this week to reconfirm our podcast recording session, we are actually in the middle, and when I say we, that is the Pueblo Star-Journal. We have our digital edition, which comes out on Friday, July 17th, and we have dedicated the entire issue, 12 pages, which is an expanded issue for our digital readers, and it is going to be on the Aspen Acres Fire, most importantly on the recovery. And in my inbox from Jocelyn was kind of a suggested outline for the podcast that we're recording right now as we speak. And I did not know, of course you don't know what you don't know, but Jocelyn has been front and center and literally a part of the recovery effort here, and actually not just recovery, but literally front line in feeding our firefighters and anyone that's on the front line. So before I kind of get into some of these questions that we've laid out for today's podcast, why don't you just give me just, a little bit of an introduction about how this all came to be, because it really did, 4th of July, and all of a sudden it was like an explosion, literally and figuratively.
It was, in Pueblo, we haven't seen anything like this in ever, we've had the flood and things like that, but there's one thing about Pueblo is when stuff like this happens, we really do come together. And for me, when I seen the fire, and I know people in Beulah, and I have friends there who have homes, and just a lot of community, that's like it's like a suburb of Pueblo.
Literally,
right?
yeah.
Literally. And so when I seen this happening, my first thought was like, oh my gosh, I hope my friends got out and I hope their houses are okay. And then after that, as a wellness company and with my business as always being of service, as I was like, I want to figure out how I can help and be be of assistance during this time. And so for me, it was really, I knew like obviously I was going to do food of some sort and really help out the community that way, but I didn't know what that looked like or who to even talk to. And so for me, I'm always like, I don't want to talk to the tail. I want to go straight to the head and like figure out like the logistics and things like that, because when something like this happens, it's really chaotic. It's really fast. There's a lot of stuff going on. And a lot of people in the community were really stepping up really fast, but also the unknowns, right? Of like how many firefighters are there? Where do they need the food? Who needs the food? What kind of food do they need?
Right.
It's all about that sustainability. And so I went straight to the disaster relief area at Lehigh,
the
right?
DAC, the Disaster
Relief Center.
Assistance Center. Yeah, DAC.
So I went there. I told them who I was, what I was looking for. They got me with the head lady right away. And I had kind of known that World Central Kitchen was coming in. I had seen it online. And this was Friday, I think before 4th of July. And so they got me right in front of who I needed to, gave her my card. She was going to pass it on along. And then on my way home, I just prayed. I literally was like, God, just show me like how I can be of assistance during this time. Without going out and like searching for it. Because before Friday, I had spent all day. I called the sheriff's department. I called United Way. I called all the people that were involved. And it was kind of like, we don't know. Like, right. I know like this is that and that is this. And so I was making the phone calls, and I figured the best way to do this was just to go down.
Sure.
And give my card and let it go to who it needed to go to. And so then 4th of July, which is I didn't even realize it was 4th of July,
Right.
like really. And I was like 4th of July morning, I was just scrolling on Facebook and I seen that Jill Latka, who is the spokesperson for Beulah Fire, and I was in BNI with her for a long time, which is a business networking group. And so I knew her and I had her phone number and I seen that they were looking for meals for the firefighters. So I just called her and she answered. And she was like, oh my gosh, Jocelyn, like, thank you. This is so great. Asked when I could do meals and we set it up.
Wow.
About an hour, maybe 2 hours later, I got a message from Mike Lund from World Central Kitchen, or WCK. And if you don't know what that is, it's literally a nonprofit for the first to the front lines, providing fresh meals and like responsive humanitarian, climate and community crises. They're kind of like, go out there and figure out the food so that way it goes to where it needs to go, the right amount of people. They kind of, it'd be amazing to be like in that room and really see how that all goes.
Well, and Chef Andres, who has been doing this for years all over the world, he literally is on every major disaster or war zone. He literally just, in a matter, sometimes it's less than 24 hours, he's already set up an operation in some faraway land, with tents and with kitchens, and he's actually feeding the people after a disaster. Or in this particular case, with the firefighters, feeding the people who are on the front lines.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was it just was meant to be, and it was pretty seamless the way that they flow and the way they talk. And SoulSmile got onboarded, and then I was just kind of, as it came in and they asked us to do meals, I told them absolutely and just got it done. And so we went up that Tuesday, which I think was the 7th. Fire was still going. It was really hot. It was still, it wasn't contained at all. So I didn't really know what I was going into. A few years ago, when I worked with Cisco and there was a fire in Wetmore, I had to drive through to go and, believe it or not, pick up checks, because people still had to pay for their food,
Right, of course.
And I literally drove like into the fire and I was like, what am I doing right now? And so I'd kind of seen something like that before, but I wasn't expecting to see like what I saw.
Well, and especially in this particular case, because I grew up in Southern California, and of course we're very used to fires in the fall, it was the end of summer, beginning of the fall. But now it's like, it doesn't matter. And especially coming out of the drought that we're currently experiencing. I shouldn't say coming out, we're still in the middle of it. But, the winter was so dry. And then, of course, when you have these winds that pick up and it's, again, we're seeing this all over the world. It's not a uniquely Pueblo thing. But at this scale, one of the reasons why we decided for this July 17th, this Friday, to do this special 12-page edition dedicated exclusively to the Aspen Acres Fire and the recovery effort is primarily because, you can never plan, perfectly for a disaster like this, but there are certain things that, should somewhat automatically kick into play. Yeah. Sadly now we have politics involved. We don't know if FEMA, of course, usually in most cases will always provide reimbursement for the firefighting efforts, but oftentimes the actual, say, funds that could go towards the victims to rebuild, that is not happening this time. And that's something we're going to get into in this digital edition issue. But the whole issue hopefully will become somewhat of a guide so that, because you can look at all the different organizations, which we are going to. The United Way has stepped up front and center and has been extraordinary, and their website is constantly being updated. We have Facebook pages. John Overton, of course, who's done extraordinary things just in putting together like this Beulah, volunteer network for, recovery and where do you get resources and things of that.
Which is so good.
Yeah, and then you've got individuals like Leslie Nazario, and there's a whole team of people who had just really took that moment at the start of the fire to say, hey, we're going to need supplies, and to start organizing some of these donation drives and things of that sort. And I think that's one of the things, as you mentioned, that it was personally for yourself. You felt, this is when Pueblo, and oftentimes, sadly, it is through disasters or, just really horrific events that sometimes the best of humanity comes out. And we're always kind of looking for, well, what can I do? How can I give back? So it just happens you have unique skill sets. I mean, you've been doing recipes for the Pueblo Star-Journal since the beginning. We're going to be going into your, really excited later this summer, we're going to be getting into the nitty-gritty of your cookbook. But food and wellness have always been kind of the skill sets that you have and the gifts that you have that you can offer people, communities, and situations like this.
Well, it's always been important to me to be of service. Like my motto has always been just show up. Like that's always like the way.
That's what you got to do first. First, you got to show up.
Just show up. And that's why I was like, phone calls aren't going to work. Like I just need to show up. Like let them know that I'm here to help. Like here's my information. Like let me know what I can do. And then after that, once I knew that I could do some meals for these firefighters and for the evacuees, we actually did for the evacuees when they were going back home on Monday, was like, how can we nourish them? But also like, how can we make them feel appreciated and special? So I got special labels, and every bag had like, thank you so much for your courage and your sacrifice.
Right.
Like, for our community, and just a little bit of like something else.
Some kindness in with that meal. You mentioned firefighters first. So did you do also meals for evacuees? So how did that all, because I know this is a very complex situation because you've got frontline, firefighters and all of those type of workers. And then of course you have evacuees, which of course that's a whole other story because we've heard just such a wide variety, and with already a housing shortage in Pueblo, it's not like we have all these empty places that we can put people up.
I know. And social media and everything was pretty much just flooded with anything Aspen Acres, and just all these different people stepping up to see how they could help the evacuees, and who needed it and who needed food and who needed assistance. And for us, we were mainly doing meals for the Beulah firefighters.
Okay.
And so that's mainly, so I was going back and forth to Beulah, mainly just lunches. And then that Monday when everyone was able to get back in, that's when the National Guard was there, and they were going to let people back in, and they knew that there was going to be a huge line. So as people were waiting to get back in, they were getting a meal.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, and you told me just a little bit before we started recording how you arrived at some of the most popular meals, which was, I thought, really fascinating. Tell us a little bit about what you actually provided the firefighters.
So my first thought was wraps with high protein, chicken, things like that. And something that was cool. I was they're probably so tired of getting sandwiches right now. And so I wanted to just do something different.
Right,
so
of course.
I did wraps, and then, made sure there was fresh fruit in there. And then the big thing I did is I put frozen water bottles, because
oh my gosh, it's so hot up there. Those water bottles would start melting.
Yeah. One, it serves as a personal little ice pack for each meal, but also the firefighters got ice water. And then we had some electrolytes in there, and then, good sugars, good proteins that would last. And so that was one big thing from a wellness standpoint is what meals would be best for them and really sustainable.
Right.
And so after that, I got a message from WCK, and they were the wraps were great. Can we get 60 more? And so I changed up the wrap, and I was absolutely.
So the wraps were a hit then.
They were. And I was you know what? We can do other things. We could do hot. We can do. And he was no. Just stick with
just
the
do wraps. Just do the wraps.
Yeah. And unfortunately, when I dropped off on Sunday, I had heard, some sad news that someone else had dropped off some wraps, and it was full of chicken bones, unfortunately, and they had to like throw them away.
Oh my gosh.
And the first thing I did is I told Jill, I was like, oh my gosh, like that was not my, she's like, girl, I would have called you. She was like, I promise. And I was like, well, I could tell you right now, like my wraps had no chicken bones.
Oh my gosh.
That's also why, like, you know, you have to be, that's why they're so careful about where they get their food.
That's right. That's right.
For firefighters. And I know, like, there were a lot of people, and I just love them for their giving hearts and everything.
Sure.
They just, everyone wanted to give food. And I know some people were sad because they weren't able to do that, but it's just, they have a whole system.
Sure.
You know, and
it makes sense. And that it actually is important for safety, for security, for nutrition, for just, you know, just the ease of just making it happen.
Right.
There's got to be some standards there that you'd have to have.
Yeah.
Because the last thing you'd want to do is to lose, you know, for whatever reason, you know, firefighters because of the meals that they were fed.
Right. Well, and that's the other thing, which I appreciate. I appreciate structure.
Yeah.
And that's why I love that, you know, World Central Kitchen came in and was like, nope, this is how many we need. This is who's going to do them this day, who's going to do that. And it was like very structured. And I think that not only helped the businesses and the people that were stepping up to offer food and who were contracting through the WCK, was it was going to who it needed to go to when it needed to go there.
And that's so important because you don't realize, I mean, you kind of sensed it, the chaos at the outset. But, you know, these organizations that are trained, they do this over and over again. That type of organization and that kind of structure really does make a huge difference in terms of how the actual, you know, firefighting and the recovery and all of that actually takes place. Because if there isn't any really clear, like black and white, this is what they need, this is the time, this is when we're going to do it. Without that, you're just adding to the chaos.
Right. It's just chaotic. And I was even to the point where I was like, if it's not us cooking the food, like I will come if you need another chef, like if you need hands.
Sure.
Like I'm certified, I'm trained, like put a shirt on me and give me
You're ready to go.
Give me a big pan. Like what do you need me to do?
Right.
So I was willing to like show up however that looked. And even after the fact, you know, I let Mike and David, who are with the WCK, and even Monique, I said, hey, like my offer goes beyond this crisis.
And you're talking Monique Marez, who Pueblo Food Project, and who has literally global experience when it comes to dealing with matters of food. I didn't even
know she was doing anything with it until Sunday. And she sent me a text and was like, hey, I'm going to be dropping off the Cambros that you need. And I was like, what? Of course you would be doing this. But
so I don't know if you know the answer to this, but say, for example, the World Central Kitchen did not come. Who would be in charge of feeding the firefighters?
I feel like...
Who is in charge?
My words had been a shit show.
Well, that for sure. But I mean, this is why I think
at that point, I mean, there's so much going on. And I mean, some of these firefighters are volunteers and like, you know, there's only so much that people could do. I think it would have been figured out somehow, but I think it would have been maybe a lot of waste. It would have been a lot of confusion.
Sure. I mean, I can imagine, like, if you're talking about Beulah in particular and their fire, you know, infrastructure there, they would probably be, I mean, if there are firefighters out there and they're hungry, someone within that organization or a partner organization is going to take care of it. But what a relief when you have an organization like World Central Kitchen, which basically does this nonstop, 24/7, 365 days. They really do take that burden off of.
Absolutely.
Plus, then they also, I mean, not that we should concern ourselves, but it's really important is that where we get this, our supply chain here locally is we're really blessed that we actually have the capacity to actually feed the firefighters without having to get in a truck and drive 6 hours to get supplies and bring them back. We actually have this amazing local Pueblo food, you know, ecosystem and this infrastructure that allows us to do these things on the spur of a moment.
Oh yeah. And it's, you know, like I was able to get a hold of Rocky Musso and was like, hey, I'm wondering if you would be willing to donate, you know, 8 to 10 watermelons.
Right.
And it was like,
Don't even
Boom.
ask. Just come and pick them up.
Like, you know what?
Can I deliver them to you?
We'll have them for you. Like, so, and I went and
So
picked
is
them
that,
up.
so how is that just in terms of procurement? I mean, it's something you do on a daily basis practically just because that's your business. But I mean, how did you feel about that? And of course, this is what gets back to everything is it's all about relationships.
It is. It is about relationships and just utilizing the resources that we have.
That's
you know,
right.
we do have the farms. Like I said, I go up to Colorado Springs once a week. So I happen to just be going up within that middle space.
Right.
So then I was able to do some shopping up there as
Right,
well
right.
to give some relief to like the Sam's Club here.
Of course, yeah.
Which they did such a great job. I don't think they ran out of water once.
Wow.
Which I thought was amazing.
Yeah.
Because you figure there was probably, I want to say, 8 restaurants who were really like doing a lot of meals like in town. But I also know there were food trucks stationed places. There were restaurants coming out of Florence, out of Canyon City who were showing up, you know, and
it was amazing because I saw the list, you know, of Pueblo County and then Custer County. But literally, I mean, there were people from California. There were people from a lot of states, you know, far and wide. So it is pretty extraordinary. Well, and I know the fire is over 100,000 acres.
It is.
And, you know, it's gone through different phases. But, you know, this week, again, we're in the mid 90s, you know. Again, what is it today? Is it like 95 degrees, 96 degrees?
Well, and then I think they just put out another evacuation for Huerfano County.
That's right. They did by San Isabel and south going that area. Yeah.
And, you know, these are all places that, like I said, these are small communities right outside of Pueblo. Pueblo's the big city for these communities.
Right.
So you have Colorado City, you have Rye, you have San Isabel, you have, you know, Beulah. All these places are places where we all go, where we go camping, we go take our kids. We have people have cabins, and you know, this is where we take our families when they come here. And it's like, oh, let's go see Bishop's Castle.
Bishop's Castle, which whoa.
Oh, all these things. And so there's so much love for this Southern Colorado, and just people really, really stepped up.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we've kind of talked about, you know, how you got involved with the World Central Kitchen as part of this Aspen Acres Fire. We've also talked a little bit about your personal experience, especially focusing on Beulah, which was really kind of your focus, and speaking with others in the community, especially on Monday when people started to get back in to see if their homes were still standing and what their condition of their homes were. But and we briefly talked about, and this is something we always talk about in every episode, is about the food systems, about Pueblo's food systems and how they fill a need. And it sounds like, I mean, like we said, disasters kind of introduce this really unique opportunity for humanity to be at its very best. But I also feel, and we've talked about this a lot, you know, we have just this amazing gift from God, this, you know, the mesa, the farms, all of this that we have in our ag sector. And, you know, a lot of people still in Pueblo don't even know that we have this huge ag sector, you know, and kids are looking down aisle number 9 to see if they can get everything when it's actually grown just out there. But it's nice to see that, you know, because of, as I said just a minute ago, you know, about the relationship that you were able to really, you know, connect with those that you felt because you knew what your call to action was. You had to do these special lunches. What do you think? I mean, sadly, out of this disaster, we're going to learn a lot of lessons.
Right.
I mean, what are some of the things, you know, when we look, say, towards the fall, we start looking towards winter. I mean, everyone's talking about a real cold winter now. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? But when you start talking about the relationships that we need to continue to build and to share, and this actually is a perfect segue because the next part of this podcast later in August, we're going to start talking about Jocelyn in the wild.
Oh, I'm already in the wild.
So But let's talk about Jocelyn in the Wild, because that's going to be a vehicle for you personally and for the Pueblo Star-Journal as the producer to really capture you, which I like to say, and you said it from the outset, it's your natural habitat.
It is.
So Jocelyn in the Wild, because I'm trying to think about what are some things that we can do when we go into the wild with you. And, you were just saying that Rocky out at Muso's, I don't know what the order is, but they've already opened up, Muso Farms for us to really use that as a kind of a site for us to explore, exactly the gift that we have on the mesa. So I'm just thinking, as we come out of this fire, knowing what you were able to provide is because you already have the relationships. But because so many people don't know that we have this extraordinary area, what are some of the things, when we start talking? I mean, I think the fire is giving us some other things to think about when we start talking about Jocelyn in the Wild.
I don't even know where to go with that, but
you can go anywhere you want to.
No, it's all about relationships, and I think the good thing, is the farms are open right now,
right?
And they are. They're doing really good.
I was going to ask you, because I've been hearing a lot. I listen to other broadcasts and I read, and the drought. I mean, just a lot of the farmers have had to cut back.
Yes.
They can't water as much as they would normally water.
Like varietals, we're not going to see maybe as much varietals of things.
Okay.
But when I spoke to Rocky, that was my first question is like, hey, how is it going this year? Because as soon as it opened, I mean, I was there. I was like, let's
and what was it like? I mean, how did you feel when I
thought for early season, it was great.
Okay, good. Because when I started seeing those asparagus out at Millburgers, which, it's one of my favorite things.
But
and they arrived a month early, and I'm like, going, what the hell?
I know. And you can get like Palisade peaches right now, which is crazy, and they're great. Right now, Heidi, she's out at the farmers market in the Pueblo West area.
Yeah, there's several in the Pueblo. So
they have one at Civic Center in Pueblo West, and she has the best peaches.
Really?
Yes, like best peaches. They're beautiful. They're great. You'll pay a little bit more. It was because they're spectacular.
Yeah.
But no, we're lucky that the farms are going, and I know a lot of the farms were helping out different restaurants and things like that, and it's based on those relationships.
Right.
Without those relationships, you're just another. I mean, not just another person, but sometimes you don't have those deep conversations.
Right. Well, and this is something that we want to try to do with Jocelyn in the Wild is to really show people. And in fact, we will be inviting people to come. So when we get to the scheduling, we're going to actually be able to invite people to actually be present when we record this, so that it can be, kind of a shared experience.
Well,
but I'm looking here, you say here the number 4 item for us to cover in the podcast is lighter note. Farm season is here, all in capital letters.
It is. It's like my favorite. It's my favorite season.
Yeah.
It's my favorite season of the year, and it's just kind of funny, right? Because like there's this big parasite out that says like don't eat fresh food.
Oh God. We do have an online, we did a deep dive into that.
So like for me, I'm like, okay, I'm not even going to get into that. But the big thing is like, know where your food is grown.
Exactly. And wash it and then boil it if necessary.
Yeah. Like you wash it, you pill it.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're afraid, then don't eat the things on the list. I think there's 5 things.
Right.
But really it's like knowing like.
And Taco Bell was not the source of that.
Maybe
I mean, that's the net.
But, I mean,
33 states, I guess. Chlorospora. Yeah, we did a deep dive. We have information, but it's basic practices that you would normally do when you bring your produce, your fresh and raw produce in from the farms or from a market or store. You would do the same thing. You would peel back the outer layers, clean it up, wash it, rinse it, make sure, dry it all out. And
I'm a firm believer, like, people always ask me, oh, are you 100% organic? And I'm like, no, back in the day, everything was organic, right? Eat your clean, your clean 15, dirty dozens, like, know what to do with your food. I think on my social media, I posted a really easy vegetable wash. I mean, it's just baking powder, water and a little bit of vinegar, and you can clean your vegetables.
Right.
But it's just another scare tactic to me in my mind.
Okay.
And I'm also like, go out to your farms, know where your food's coming from. A lot of our farms don't use pesticides and things like that. And so they kind of use natural ways of keeping those animals, those bugs away and those pests. And so that's important as well.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer of sometimes, what is being said is not always true. Like it could actually be how these things are processed in big facilities that are actually causing
and that
you
was
to
the
be
big
sick.
one with the national one.
Yeah.
It was when it left the farm, where did it go next? And especially when you had packaged, like lettuce that was in packages, that's where they were tracing a lot of these problems. So that goes back to the process.
I don't want to be like scaring people, like don't eat packaged lettuce. But I mean, it is gas packed. It is washed in bleach. Like there's like a million things. I mean, if you want to be scared of like eating food, you'll like be on a water diet for the rest of your life. No,
exactly. No, I mean, we don't want to do that at all.
But no, it's from what we've seen so far. I mean, there's a lot of like produce, like the melons are great right now.
Yes.
Cucumbers, fava beans, zucchini, calabacita squash. Like
and that's your recipe stuff in the July issue.
I had never done one.
Really? I mean, I love that. I can't wait to cook it. If you haven't seen it, the calabacita, that is in the July issue of the Pueblo Star-Journal, and it's a great recipe.
I mean, peaches and cream, like corn is out right now.
Yes, and that's my favorite, July and August.
Right?
Corn, and we've got so many different varietals, so many different types of corn.
Yeah.
And when I was a little kid, my favorite thing to do in August when I would visit with my grandparents in Pennsylvania was to go and harvest the Silver Queen corn. And we didn't even cook it. We just peeled it back and we just ate it right off the cob.
Well, that's why like peaches and corn salad are really good together.
Well, isn't there a peaches and cream corn too? Isn't there?
Is, but if you put like corn with peaches and do a little bit of mint.
Really?
It's a great salad.
Oh my God. I don't think I've ever tried that. That makes total sense. Okay.
There you go.
There you go. There's another fresh. Well, we're going to get your cookbook later this year and I can't wait. It's really exciting to see, clearly. And this is something we've been talking about from the very beginning is, understanding where our food comes from. Yeah. And in understanding where our food comes from, it sometimes requires you to go out and don't be afraid to ask questions.
Right. That's what
everywhere, every time I go, sometimes they'll walk me out into the field and they'll show me this is how this happens. And in fact, I don't know if it's a dream that I will ever do, but I remember I was at Millburgers on a tour years ago, and I know every year when they get to the chili harvest, they always hire some local people to fill the gap because they need a lot of people.
Need so many.
But I've heard that it is so brutal, but I really want to commit myself for the whole picking season and actually not volunteer. If they're going to make me work my fingers to death,
we'll pay you 50 cents.
Whatever they pay me, I don't care. But I really, for some reason, there's something about the chili that I love the green chili. I'm in the Moscow, the Mirasol, the local, Dr. Bartolo who teaches us all the magic of this, this magical chili. I don't think I will ever really fully appreciate it until I actually get in with the crew during the harvest season and understand exactly what that's all about, because that's a whole special really experience.
Like getting into it, right?
Right.
It's like the whole other level of like knowing where your food comes from.
Right.
It's like we could go take a tour, we can ask all the questions.
Right.
But getting into the nitty gritty and saying, oh, I actually did that.
Right.
Is like a whole other level of experience. And I think everyone should do it at some point. It's kind of like I'm a firm believer that everyone should have a serving job in their life.
Oh my God. I mean, literally it changes the way you...
Everyone should work in a restaurant and at least, I don't care if you decide to do it for a month.
Or for a day.
Forever. Or a day if you make it. Everyone
it's
should
hard
do it.
work.
So I think it's the same thing is like going and actually kind of getting your hand in that dirt or like that's the same thing with like having those conversations with your growers and your producers and like, one of my other favorite things is going to gags and like sitting there talking.
See, there you go. That is so much more than just going out and getting, things on your list. I mean, that's a cultural experience.
Well, then
that's historical experience. I mean, that is literally living and breathing the Pueblo way when you start going to Gagliano's and they've got like 100-year history. And then you've got Zolzman's and they've got, a century-old history. And then just recently we had Ian's Pizza, which is now on the register, the local historic register, because of the significance of the pizzeria that they brought to Pueblo over 50 years ago. So, we've got all these great local traditions.
Like, I always know, like, if I'm going to go Gagliano's, I'm going to take, like, X amount of time because I'm going to have a conversation.
Right.
I may eat a cookie. Like, who knows, like, what happens. But you always learn something.
Right.
And that's someone else, like, got to give them a shout out. They really stepped up, and I know that they donated, like, so much sausage to the Acre Fire.
Oh, no, I read that somewhere,
and they're another...
Vince was probably working overtime.
all night making sausage. But, they're like someone else who really steps up, but it's community.
That's right.
And so it's important for us to go and do those things.
Yeah,
I mean, you'll learn a lot. You'll probably have some amazing conversations and experiences.
No, and I think it really does give you a completely different perspective because especially in Pueblo where culturally, we have so many different ethnic minority groups that, these people came from all over the world. They brought their traditions. Most importantly, they brought their food because that is one of the few things that, language takes time, but food is one of those things you can share immediately. And when you go through our neighborhoods, there's still hints of, in fact, one of my requests is it's getting harder and harder to find pizza, really good pizza. And so I'm hoping that in the cookbook or at some point, because that was something that I used to always order for Christmas. And it was like pizza and tamales. Yep. I mean, that was like my Christmas in Pueblo. Christmas. Yeah. So, well, lastly, before we kind of wrap up this edition of SoulSmile, Soul Fresh, I want to talk about the 1/4 acre summer fall farm stand, which is something that's going to be happening in your neck of the woods in Hyde Park, which is where you are probably just at nighttime when you're sleeping.
That is where I sleep. That's where I sleep. You can find me at 5 in the morning cooking. This has been something since I moved back to Denver 17 years ago.
Right.
The West Side Hyde Park area, that's where I grew up. It was always been a passion of mine to like, how do we bridge that gap between the people and the food and the food and the people? And I see, and I love it that there's a farm stand, there's a farmer's market on the east side. They do the farmer's market at Mineral Palace Park. There's a farmer's market in Pueblo West, but like the west side, like always gets forgotten. And I can say that, and there's gonna be people who are mad at me, but I'm telling you, we don't get as much as everyone else. We don't get the things that the east side gets. We don't get the things that Bessemer gets. And so So what are you going to do? What are you going to bring to Hyde Park? So I don't even know if people realize that 1/4 Acre and a Mule is a farm that is ran by Perdita Butler, and she is on the west side, and she is growing a lot of food.
I didn't realize. I was familiar because I've seen them at the farmers markets, but I didn't know where they were. I knew they were here.
She's like a hop, skip, and I could throw like a rock.
Oh my gosh! So she's literally right there on the west side. Oh my gosh.
She had a passion to bring like a farm stand or something to the west side. I had a passion. I'm like, we talked. We're like, why don't we do it together? And so we're going to be doing it at SoulSmile Health and Wellness at the community garden. And she's going to have produce. I'm going to have gluten-free baked goods. I'm working with Three Sisters Dairy Farm.
Yes, and they're made their cheeses. Oh my gosh.
So we're going to have some of their local ground beef. We're going to probably have some of their lamb and goat meat as well, just to offer that.
Right,
also,
right.
On top of that. And the good thing is you'll be able to use double up bucks. We'll be able to take
So they can EBT? Oh, wow.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And
so really, there's no barriers. I mean, anyone can come.
It'll kind of be like for anyone.
Right.
But really like focusing on like that West Side community to say,
Right.
hey, we're going to bring it to you.
Right.
Like, because I know, sometimes it's really hard.
Right.
There's a lot of people in need on the West Side.
Well, and plus transportation is always one of the things that's just, sometimes it's great to have all these events or to have these farmers markets and stuff. But if you don't have transportation to get there, you can't get there.
Exactly.
And that's really frustrating. So I know in the Pueblo Star Journal,
yes.
What page do we have a full page?
So it's on page 20.
20. So there's a huge full page ad in the July issue, which it's called Farm Stand. And I love that. So
very simple.
No, I love it because it's a farm stand. But so tell us, when is the first?
So our first one will be Saturday, August 1st from 8 to 11. October will be determined. We're going to have to change the date on that one. So we'll post that probably in September. So is it going to
be like once a month? Is that what you're looking at?
We're going with 3 this year to see like how the community does, if we can build it up, and then hopefully it'll just grow.
That's fantastic.
And then we'll be doing one at the
Do you need volunteers? Do you want people to help out? What is that like for you? What do you, I didn't ask you that before we recorded the podcast. I don't want people to all of a sudden be signing up. But are you looking for help? Or
for right now, I don't think we are.
But
you never know. Like in October, I may be like, hey,
maybe we let the August 1st one go, and then Jocelyn's going, help me. We had 1,000 people. I need 100 volunteers.
Yeah, so we'll just see, but it's going to be something, it's not going to be crazy. It's not going to be like the farmer's market. It's literally going to be a farm stand. There's going to be 2 of us there. We're going to have different products. And then just hopefully like we'll just keep growing it and just be able to bring that to the Hyde Park community. Great.
That's fantastic. So people could use credit card, they can use cash, they can use their EBT.
We'll take credit card, we do Square, we do Venmo, we do Snap.
Great.
They get those bonus
So they get
bucks.
Do you get the double up bucks then with the Snap? That I think is fantastic.
Yes.
And I don't think a lot of people actually know that.
Right.
When you double up bucks with those, with the Snap.
All the farmers markets do double up bucks with
That's
the Snap.
Amazing.
And then it's $60 a month of free produce that you can get.
See, and that is so huge. And it's locally sourced, locally grown, which is huge.
And I think we'll probably have like some honey. Like I'll probably end up working a little bit with maybe Westcliff Cheese Company.
Okay.
And so we'll just see what we bring and what people want, and we'll just keep it as a learning experience and just keep hopefully growing it. And then
I love that. And parking is not an issue out there. They have no problem at all. Mm-hmm. I mean, you've been kind of the quiet part of Pueblo.
I am, yeah. No, we're on a dead end. So there's parking. Good. On the streets and things like that. And so we're just trying to, it'll start small, and we're just trying to bring.
And I love that it's the farm stand, so it kind of distinguishes it from the farmer's market.
Right.
You've got all these other opportunities, which are great. I mean, we're lucky and we're blessed that we have them. But you, as a local resident in the Hyde Park neighborhood, have realized that there's a little bit of a gap there. So it's kind of nice that you're already there, you live there, you work there, you grow there, you do everything there. Plus you have your relationships with, and especially, I always forget the full name. It's Quarter Acre and a Mule. What do you know the origin story behind the name?
I don't. You're going to have to ask her, Tita.
I love that name, and I love the logo.
I feel like at some part she started a farm and maybe had a mule.
Okay.
It's on my list to ask her.
Because I'm just wondering if there was a mule that came with the land.
That would be great. There's going to be a mule.
Because that is a funny logo, because there is the mule in the picture.
Yeah.
So anyways, that should be maybe for our next episode, we'll start out telling the origin story. Maybe we'll get Pertita. What is her first name again? Pertita. We'll get Pertita to come and she can explain the origin story for us on the next edition of this podcast.
Absolutely.
I think that would be fun. Then we could get a full report on how things happened at the... Well, here's the other thing. If you want to, I know you're going to be really busy, but the Pueblo Star Journal, we could do a live podcast right out at the farm stand.
We could.
So let's just think about that. I didn't think that through, but I think it might be a lot of fun, because I think it's really important for us, and especially with kids and younger adults. I think if they start to really realize where their food comes from, adults too, but I want to work with the kids because
right.
they have more years to be able to spread the good word.
Exactly. And then get them into agriculture. It's so important.
Well, this has been a fascinating episode, and one that was really driven by, sadly, the horrible, Aspen Acres fire that we're dealing with right now. Literally, it's still going. You can still see the fire, making its way through. And now, because of what's happening in Huerfano County, they're having more evacuations there. So I hope that, everyone remains safe, be smart. But anything else that you'd like to add as we close out this episode?
My biggest thing is from SoulSmile Health and Wellness, we just want to send our heartfelt thoughts and prayers to everyone who's really been affected by this. And that includes those who didn't lose their homes but have lost their their mountain, their parks, and things like that. And so we just want people to know, reach out to us. We're always here to be of service. And we just are honored to be that person.
That's great. Well, this has been a fantastic episode. And next episode, we'll get back to all of you with some more details, because we're going to be moving into Jocelyn in the wild, which is going to be exciting because Jocelyn said, I think in our very first episode, that, her season is when she gets to go up on the mesa out onto the farms. And so it's that time of year. So with the farm stand and then with Jocelyn in the wild, I think we're really going to get to see you front and center, doing what you do best. And that's sharing this amazing, food system that we have all throughout our community. And so I thank you for that, because it really is a gift. And many people who do come to Pueblo and are shown that part of our, culture, part of our business, our commerce, all of that, it really is a beautiful story that, it's generational. It goes back, we can go back to the 1400s, the 1500s, when you start talking about the land grants and the borderlands. But, literally just the last 150, 160 years, just in terms of, shall we say, modern history, this ag sector has been such a gift for our community. And it seems like it's just now getting the attention that it deserves, because much of what was produced there just was trucked, shipped straight up the Front Range to those in Denver and beyond who appreciated, much of what we grow. So I love the fact that we have this opportunity to really share the magic that we have in these local farms, because as Monique Marez taught me during her dig talk years ago, there's 839 family farms that are in Pueblo County, which is extraordinary just as a number when you start talking about kind of the culture, the food system, the food ecosystem that we have. There's a lot going on there. So I want everyone just to be able to experience that, because there's nothing better. Well. Food is really the one thing that I think we have as humans that we can really share and celebrate.
Every day.
There we go. Okay, well, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Soul Fresh, Soul Clean. We'll say goodbye, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
You've been listening to Soul Fresh, Soul Clean. This is a production of the Voices of Pueblo podcast, presented by the Pueblo Star-Journal. This episode was produced and narrated by Jocelyn Martinez and Gregory Howell. To learn more and to support nonprofit local news in Pueblo, Colorado, visit pueblostarjournal.org. If you would like to share your food story, reach out to Jocelyn at pueblostarjournal.org. We want to hear from you. Thank you for listening.
Homeownership is possible with a trusted partner.
It brings us a lot of joy to be able to say that this house is our own and that we've poured our hearts into making it our own.
Alyssa and Ryan are among the more than 155,000 people Chafa has helped become homeowners since 1974. It starts with homebuyer education and connecting you with a statewide network of participating lenders. Get started at chfainfo.com/yourhome. Chafa is an equal housing lender.